They reached the Trident on the 8th day. The river here was wide and cold, its surface glazed with thin plates of ice that drifted sluggishly toward the sea. The ford itself was shallow enough for horses, but the water still bit at their legs, sending up sprays of liquid glass. The ruins of old camps dotted the far bank, collapsed fire pits, half-rotted stakes, the ghostly traces of trenches long filled in. King Robert insisted they stop. "Here," he said, reining in on a rise above the ford. "Here it was, where I broke him." His eyes were not on the road or the river, but on a point only he could see in the middle of the current. The column slowed, then fanned out. Guards spread in a wary ring. Servants hovered with cloaks. The king swung down from his horse with more effort than he would have liked, joints stiff, breath loud. Still, when he stood with the wind tugging at his beard, there was something of the young warlord in him again. "Leave us," he commanded, with a sweep of his arm that included most of his retinue. "I'll drink to ghosts with Ned, not with a gaggle of sycophants." Cersei's mouth tightened, but she inclined her head. The Lannister men fell back with her, taking the royal children with them, save Joffrey, who lingered long enough to be summoned sharply by his mother. Daenerys watched from a little way off as Robert and Ned walked together down toward the water's edge. The king spoke with his hands, sweeping, pointing, as if placing invisible soldiers on an invisible field. Ned listened, face shuddered, eyes far away. "Isn't it splendid?" Sansa breathed beside her. "To stand where heroes fought, where songs were born." Arya snorted. "Where men hacked each other to pieces," she said. "Look, you can still see bits of old armor in the shallows." "Don't be vulgar," Sansa snapped, though her gaze slid nervously to the water. Daenerys's eyes followed the current. The sun was sinking, turning the ice plates to shards of red and gold. For one dizzy moment, she imagined rubies scattered across the riverbed, each one a piece of a prince's crown, loosed when the hammer fell. Rhaegar, she had seen drawings of him, heard snatches of song. Some painted him handsome, melancholy, tragic. Others called him mad as his father, obsessed with prophecies written in stars and blood. Always, he was the man on the other side of a war she had not lived through, the name sung as villain or saint depending on the singer. And here they said he had died. The wind off the river cut through her cloak. She shivered. Jon rode up to them, ghost at his horse's heels. "You should keep back," he said quietly to Arya. "The bank's slick. Father won't thank you for tumbling in after the king." "I'm not a child," Arya muttered, but she edged away a half-step. Daenerys watched Robert raise his cup, arm outstretched over the water. His voice carried on the wind, the words faint but unmistakable. "To the fallen," he said. Ned's reply was too soft to catch. She imagined, for a moment, walking down there, standing between them, telling Robert who watched him from behind her hood. Telling Ned who she might have been if his hammer had swung the other way, if Viserys had survived and she had grown up across the sea with a brother who muttered of crowns and vengeance. Instead, she stayed where she was. "It's only a river," she said softly, more to herself than to the others. "Water forgets. Men don't." Later, as they rode on, the land began to change. The snow thinned to patchy crusts. The air lost some of its knife's edge and took on a damp chill instead. The trees grew different, more oak and beech, fewer pine. Villages dotted the road more frequently, their thatched roofs sagging under the weight of late winter. The north was behind them, but it clung in the feel of Daenerys's cloak, in the ache in her chest when she glanced back and saw only the smear of gray where Winterfell had once sat on the horizon. Ahead, the south waited, thick with history and hate and things that did not forget as easily as rivers. They saw King's Landing at dusk. The King's Road crested a low, scrub-covered hill, and there it was, sprawled along the curve of Blackwater Bay like some ungainly beast, its walls a jagged gray line, its roofs a patchwork of red and brown, its towers stabbing at a sky smudged with smoke. The river glinted dull silver as it wound toward the sea, dotted with ships whose masts clustered like a forest of dead trees. The Red Keep crouched on its promontory above it all, red stone darkening toward black in the lowering light. It seemed less a castle than a wound carved into the hill, angry and watchful. Daenerys felt something twist inside her. Not longing. She had never known this place, not really. Not nostalgia. More like the shock of seeing your own name written in a stranger's hand. So much spoken around this city. So many stories. The sack, the wildfire, the dragon skulls in the Great Hall. Her brother, wailing as strangers ferried him away. Her father, raving on his throne. All the threads that had tangled and snapped here, sending shards of her life across the world. "Isn't it beautiful?" Sansa whispered, breath-catching. Arya made a non-committal noise. "It stinks," she said, wrinkling her nose as the wind shifted and brought the city's smell to them. Smoke and shit and something sweet and rotten underneath. Daenerys inhaled it like a relic. This was the air her mother had last breathed. The air her blood had tainted, if half the songs were to be believed. The royal party paused to let the sight sink in. Robert raised his cup again. He never seemed to run out of wine, and laughed, the sound booming across the hilltop. "There she is," he said. "My city, my kingdom, not yours," Daenerys thought, though the words stayed sealed between her teeth. Hers once in the sense that an unborn child belongs to a house. Hers in that it had been promised to her blood and then taken away. Hers in that men had killed for fear she might someday claim it. Now she rode toward it under another man's banner. As they descended, the city swallowed the horizon. The walls grew stone by stone. The details sharpened. She saw the mud bricks sprawl outside the gates. Slums of shanties and lean-tos where people huddled close to the city's protection but not close enough to share its supposed wealth. She saw the banners fluttering from towers, stag, lion, the crowned hand of the king's office freshly raised. She saw, just for a heartbeat, the shape of a dragon carved into an old lintel of some long-claimed building, half covered by newer stone. Then they were at the gates. The gold cloaks turned out in force, armor polished, helms at least mostly straight. Their captain knelt as the king rode past, sweat beading on his brow despite the cool air. Children stared from alleys. Women craned their necks from doorways. Some shouted, "Long live the king!" out of habit. Others only watched. Most eyes slid over Daenerys. A few stuck, drawn by the pale glimmer of hair where her hood had fallen back a little in the wind. She tugged it forward again. The streets narrowed, swallowed them. King's Landing closed around them like a fist. The noise was overwhelming. The clatter of hooves on cobblestone, the creak of wagons, the chatter and shout of thousands of voices layered over each other. The smells intensified, fish and tanner's piss, spilled wine and baking bread, wood smoke and the sour tang of human waste. As they climbed toward the Red Keep, Daenerys felt the city under her horse's hooves like a living thing. Each turn revealed some new corner. A Sep's bell tower, ringing out the evening prayer. A market square hastily cleared for the royal passage. A tangle of washing lines strung between leaning buildings. Once, she glimpsed a boy no older than Bran slip a hand into a merchant's pouch and vanish into the crowd. On a balcony above, a woman in faded silks watched them pass with a calculating eye. In a doorway, a man spat and muttered something about wolves and stags. When they finally passed under the shadow of the Red Keep's outer wall, Daenerys felt a tension ease she had not known she was holding. Stone rose around them, familiar in its mass if not its color. Guards in crimson cloaks stood at attention. Servants in livery lined the steps. "Welcome home, your grace." A man in fine clothes simpered as the king dismounted. "Welcome to your city." "My city," Daenerys thought again, and this time the words tasted less like loss and more like a seed. Small, hard, capable of growing into anything, given time and the right soil. She slid from her saddle and stood on King's Landing stone for the first time with her own feet. Not carried, not fleeting, but solid. The ground did not tremble. The city did not burst into flame. The sky did not fall. Very well, she thought, lifting her chin as she followed Eddard Stark up the steps. Let us see what ghosts live here. The Red Keep was a maze. For the first days, Daenerys felt as if she walked through a stranger's memory. Corridors twisted unexpectedly. Stairwells spiraled up and down with no apparent logic. The Godswood here was a small, walled garden with a pale-faced weirwood transplanted from the north, its roots constrained by stone. The air in the courtyards smelled of the sea instead of snow. Sansa loved it at once. There were ladies to meet, silks to admire, talk of tournaments and songs. Arya loathed it within the hour. The Septa scolded more, the guards watched more closely, and the space for climbing and hiding was made of polished marble rather than rough-hewn stone. Daenerys watched and learned. On the third night, when the castle's rhythm had settled enough that guards grew lax in familiar patterns, she slipped away. It had been a fragment in one of Luwin's books that sent her seeking. A mention of a long hall beneath the Red Keep where dragon skulls once lined the walls, glaring down on supplicants as they approached the Iron Throne. Robert had stripped the skulls from the throne room, the maester had said, as if removing the eyes of the old kings could erase their memory. Books had not said where he'd put them. She found the entrance almost by accident, a narrow, half-forgotten stair leading down from a disused storage corridor. Dust lay thick on the steps. Spiders had spun webs across the doorway. Someone had tried to forget this place. Her torch threw a small, trembling circle of light ahead of her as she descended. The air cooled, grew staler. The sounds of the castle faded until all she could hear was her own breath and the faint scrape of her boots on stone. Then the passage opened into a long chamber, and she saw them. They loomed along the walls, half in shadow. Skulls the size of wagons, their empty sockets as big as a man's chest. Some were smaller, no larger than horses. Others were so vast that her torchlight could not reach from one end of the jaw to the other in a single sweep. Bones yellowed by age, teeth like swords, dragons. She stepped forward, almost forgetting to breathe. This, then, was what the world had feared. This was what men had sung of, what they had cursed and praised. Not crowns or names, not songs of conquest or madness, but these great beasts that had once burned armies and shadowed cities. Reduced now to bone, stripped of flesh and fire, their majesty rusted into menace. She reached out very slowly and let her fingers brush the side of a skull. The bone was smooth and cold. A faint shiver ran up her arm. In her mind's eye, for a heartbeat, she saw the skull fleshed, eyelids snapping open over molten gold eyes, nostrils flaring, heat rolling from the great maw. She saw herself reflected in that gaze, small and pale, a flicker of light to be swallowed. Her hand trembled. "You feel it too, don't you?" a voice said from the darkness. Daenerys snatched her hand back and spun, torch held high. A bald man in a rich but understated robe stood just beyond the reach of her light, hands folded into his sleeves. His face was smooth, his eyes unreadable. She knew him at once, though he had rarely spoken in her hearing. "Varys, the spider, the king's master of whisperers. You move too quietly for a man your size," she said, once her heart stopped hammering. He inclined his head, amused. "I have had much practice in going unnoticed," he said. Unlike some, she knew what he saw. A girl in a plain dark gown, hood pushed back, silver hair gleaming in the torchlight like spun moonlight. A girl standing among dragon bones. "You knew I'd come," she said. "I suspected," he corrected. "The blood remembers its own, in strange ways. Men with a drop of dragon in them have been known to seek out this place, even when they ought not know it exists." "You brought me here once," she said, surprising herself. The memory rose, half-formed. A darkness that smelled of dust and old things. A man's soft voice promising she would be safe, that no one would find her. "Or brought me away, rather, from above." His expression flickered for the first time. "You were very small," he said. "Smaller than any of these bones. I am pleased you remember nothing more of that day." "Pleased?" She laughed without humor. "You left my brother to the mercy of the narrow sea. Sent us north instead of east. I sent you to the only man I believed would not trade your life for a lord's favor. he said calmly. Viserys was not in my keeping, child. Others spirited him away before I could intervene, and I have never had much faith in his wisdom. You thought I had more? She asked, arching a brow. I thought you might live, he said simply. She studied him, the torchlight painting his face in curves of shadow. You lied for me, she said, to Robert, to the realm. I told the truth as it needed to be heard, he said, that you and your brother were gone, beyond his reach, that no babe remained in King's Landing for him to kill to prove his love for Lyanna Stark. Her fingers curled at her sides. You speak of her as if you knew her. I knew the hole her absence left, Varys replied, in two men who now rule the realm, one with a crown, one with a conscience. He moved closer, careful not to startle her, as if approaching a nervous animal. You must be wondering, my lady, why I come to you now, why I do not run to the king and shout, "See, your grace. Here is the dragon you feared hiding in your friend's hall all these years." The thought occurred, she said, his mouth curved, not quite a smile. I serve the realm, he said, not kings, not houses, the realm. And the realm, I am sorry to say, is a stubborn, stupid creature, easily frightened and easily led. Right now it balances on the heads of men who care more for their pride than for its well-being. He gestured at the skulls. Once, dragons held that balance by fear. Then they died, and fear took other forms. And I? She asked. What form am I? Potential, he said. Danger, hope, all tangled together. Which is why you must be very, very careful. You've gone to a great deal of trouble to keep me breathing, she said, only to warn me not to live too loudly. I am a cautious man, he said with a small bow, and I have learned that loud dragons die quickly. He let that sink in, then added, Lord Stark will not thank me for speaking with you, but he is occupied. And time moves more quickly in this city than in the north. You will need allies who understand that. Her pulse spiked. Are you offering yourself? I am offering information, Varys said. Allegiance is a more complicated thing. For now, know this, there are eyes everywhere. In halls, in stables, in kitchens. If Cersei suspects what I suspect, she will test you. And if you are not ready for that, he glanced at the nearest skull. We will have one more dragon for the hall. Daenerys looked up into the empty sockets, then back at him. What do you want from me? She asked. For the moment, his expression smoothed again. For you to survive, long enough to choose what sort of dragon you will be, if any. The realm has had its fill of mad kings. He inclined his head once more and turned, his footsteps whisper-soft on the stone. Oh, he added over his shoulder. And perhaps, if you are inclined, stay away from the throne room when the king drinks too much. Old memories make him clumsy, and I'd hate for you to be trampled by nostalgia. He vanished into the dark, leaving her alone with the bones. Daenerys stood, torch in hand, heart pounding. The skulls watched her in blind silence. For the first time, she wondered not what she could claim from this city, but what it might take from her. Potential, she murmured. Danger, hope. Her voice echoed in the Hall of the Dead. The first meeting of the small council taught Daenerys more about King's Landing than any book. She was not meant to be there, of course. The council chamber was the king's business, and the hands, and the men who perched like carrion around them. But the Red Keep had its own passages, its own hollow walls. There were places where sound traveled strangely, slipping through grates and carved screens. Arya had found one such place first. She had burst into their shared chambers a day after their arrival, eyes bright. There's a room, she'd said, barely keeping her voice to a whisper. A big one with a table like a river, and men arguing. You can hear them if you crawl behind the walls. Septa Mordain would faint, Sansa had said, appalled. Imagine if someone saw you. No one will, Arya had retorted. They never look at the walls. Daenerys had met Arya's gaze over Sansa's head. Later, When the Septa's back was turned, she'd said, "Show me." Now she knelt beside the younger girl in a narrow, dust-scented space, peering through a carved stone lattice into the council chamber beyond. The table below was carved in the shape of Westeros, a great piece of wood, its surface scarred by years of men's hands and spilled wine. Around it sat the king's chosen advisors. Robert himself was slouched in a high-backed chair, one boot on the edge of the table, his crown slightly askew. Ned stood at the far end, hands braced on the wood, posture rigid. Between them sat Renly Baratheon, all easy smiles and bright doublet. Grand Maester Pycelle, beard flowing over his chest. Varys in his soft robes, and Peter Baelish, Littlefinger, slim and sly-eyed, his mockingbird pin bright. "I thought being hand meant you made decisions," Arya whispered beside Daenerys. "Not that you had to listen to all of this." "It means both," Daenerys murmured back. "And the listening is the more dangerous." Below, Pycelle droned on about grain stores and harvest projections. Robert's eyelids drooped. He yawned loudly. "We've more wine than wheat," Littlefinger said lightly when the maester finally wound down. "But that seems apt, given our king's tastes." Robert tossed a fig at him. Littlefinger caught it, smiling. "And the crown's debt?" Ned asked, the words cutting through the banter. "You skim over it in your figures, but I see the totals, Baelish. The realm owes near 6 million dragons, and more besides." "How did this happen?" "Wars are expensive," Renly said, "as are feasts, and tourneys, and royal progresses. Our good brother is a generous man." "Generous with other men's coin," Ned said. Robert scowled. "Don't begin, Ned. I have enough women in my life scolding me." "We owe the Lannisters 3 million, Ned pressed. "Perhaps more. That much gold buys more than pretty armor. It buys loyalty, armies, influence. Are we now a kingdom propped on the purse of Casterly Rock?" "Our good queen is a lioness," Varys said mildly. "It is in her nature to extend her claws. But the realm survives. It is surprisingly resilient." "Resilient," Ned repeated. "Until it isn't." Jon Arryn died asking questions about the Lannisters. "Now you tell me not to ask any." "We tell you to tread carefully," Varys said. "Sharp questions draw sharp answers, my lord." Littlefinger toyed with the figure. "Besides," he said, "it ill becomes the hand to look too closely at shadows when there are so many delightful distractions in the light. A tourney, for example. In your honor, the city would love it." "The city will bleed for it," Ned said. "Every gold dragon spent on steel for jousting is one not spent on keeping the peace." "You take all the joy from kingship," Robert grumbled. "What's the point of a throne if I can't have a damned tourney now and again?" "The point," Ned began, then caught himself. His jaw tightened. Daenerys watched the play of expression across his face. This was not the man she had known in Winterfell's quiet halls, though he wore the same features. That man had hidden secrets behind silence. This one was being asked to hide them behind compromise. "Let him have his tourney," Varys said softly. "Better the people shout for champions in the lists than for bread in the streets." "Bread they paid for," Ned said. "And will not receive," Littlefinger replied. "Such is the way of things." Daenerys's fingers dug into the stone. She thought of the slums outside the walls, of the thin faces she'd seen as they rode in. 6 million dragons in debt, and still they feasted. Maybe that was what dragon gold was meant for, she thought bitterly, to burn. Beside her, Arya fidgeted. "They're all stupid," she whispered, "except father, and maybe the bald one, and the little one. He's funny." "Stupidity is dangerous," Daenerys murmured. "So is cleverness." "Then what isn't?" Arya asked. "Being invisible," Daenerys said. "For as long as you can." Below, the meeting wound on. They spoke of Daenerys' namesake across the sea. The girl in this world story, married to a Khal, pregnant with a son whose existence made Robert's fists clench. They spoke of assassins and whispers, of whether to kill a child for fear of a war. Daenerys listened, the words lying like lead in her belly. She existed in this city as a shadow of that debate. Another dragon-shaped problem, hidden in the Hand's own household. When the council adjourned at last, and the men filed out, she stayed where she was, heart hammering, until the chamber emptied. "Arya," she said quietly, as they crawled back along the narrow passage. "If anyone asks, we spent the afternoon sewing." Arya made a face. "No one will ask," she said. "They never ask where I am." "Then let's keep it that way," Daenerys said. In the dark between walls, her words sounded like a plan. Water danced differently in the south. In Winterfell, swordplay had been all straight lines and solid stances. Roderick Castle had favored heavy training blades, the kind that left your arms aching and your shins bruised. The air had been cold, the ground firm, the rules clear. In King's Landing, Arya found a man who laughed at rules. Syrio Forel glided across the Red Keep's practice room like a shadow made of sunlight. His wooden sword flicked and darted. His bare feet barely seemed to touch the floor. He was slight, bald, with large, dark eyes that missed nothing. "Again, little one," he said, after sending Arya's blade spinning from her hand for the third time. "You are quick, but not quick enough. You must be a cat, not a hound. A feather, not a stone." Arya scowled, snatched up her sword, and attacked again. Daenerys watched from the doorway, intrigued despite herself. The room was high-ceilinged, open to a small terrace that looked out over the city. Dust motes danced in the slanting light. The air smelled of sweat and oiled wood. "You stare like one who has never seen a sword before," Syrio said without turning, as Arya lunged and he slipped aside. "Come, girl in gray. Do you only watch, or do you dance?" "I've swung a sword before," Daenerys said, stepping in. "Though perhaps not the way you mean." "Ah," he gave her a quick once-over. "Another wolf? Or are you something else?" "Something else," she said before she could stop herself. His brows lifted. "Good. The world has enough of wolves." He tossed her a practice blade. It was lighter than Winterfell steel, more like a lengthened switch than a sword. "Show me." She took her stance out of habit. Feet shoulder-width apart, weight balanced, blade held solid. Syrio shook his head. "You plant yourself like a tree," he said. "Pretty but useless when the axe comes. Water does not stand and wait. It flows. Move." He moved first, of course. One moment he was 2 paces away. The next his blade tapped her shoulder, then her knee, then the flat of her sword, setting it ringing. "Eyes," he said. "You look at the sword. Look at the man. Or woman. The sword is only his tail." His gaze flicked to Arya, who was watching with fierce envy. Again, Daenerys adjusted. Northern training had taught her how to take a hit, how to stay standing when a man larger than her crashed into her shield. Syrio's style was different, faster, more fluid, but some things carried over. She found the rhythm of his feet, watched the shift of his shoulders, the angle of his hips. She let her own stance loosen, weight on the balls of her feet. Their wooden swords clicked and slid. Once, she nearly overbalanced, catching herself with a graceless hop. Syrio chuckled. "Better," he said. "Still too stiff, but better." Arya vibrated at the edge of the room. "Can I try like that?" she demanded. "You said I was quick." "You are both quick," Syrio said. "But speed is nothing without knowing where to put it." They traded partners. Arya came at Daenerys with ferocious enthusiasm, all flailing limbs and wild strikes. Daenerys parried, redirecting the girl's energy rather than meeting it head-on. Arya stumbled, laughed, tried again. "You're not supposed to be here," Arya panted between bouts. "Septa Mordane will be furious." "She's furious when you breathe," Daenerys said. "We might as well give her a reason." A shout from the hallway made Arya jump. "That might be her now," she hissed. It wasn't. It was Joffrey. He stood in the doorway in fine, unnecessary armor. A lion's head worked into the hilt of the sword at his side. 2 Lannister guards flanked him. His lip curled when he saw them. "What's this?" he said. My betrothed's wolf sister and Lord Stark's little charity case playing at battle? How quaint. Arya's face went red. We're training, she said. With Syrio. Father. Your father is Hand, Joffrey cut in. Not master-at-arms. Besides, it's unseemly. Ladies don't stink of sweat and bruises. Some princes do, Arya muttered. Daenerys stepped forward, wooden blade lowered. We're not in your way, your grace, she said. There's room enough in this castle for more than one sort of training. His gaze slid over her. You always have your nose where it doesn't belong, don't you? He said. Lord Stark stray. Tell me, how did you earn your place at his table? On your back. Heat flashed through her, sharp and clean. Before she could move, Arya lunged. Her wooden sword smacked against Joffrey's greave with a hollow thunk. He staggered, more from surprise than force. His face twisted. One hand flew to his real sword. The Lannister guards stepped forward at once. Syrio interposed himself, wooden blade up, expression serene. Careful, little prince, he said. Wood bites less than steel, but it still hurts. Joffrey hesitated, glancing down the corridor toward where other ears might be. He sheathed his sword with a sharp motion. You'll regret that, he told Arya, voice low. Both of you. His eyes flicked to Daenerys, and the curve of his mouth sharpened. Then he turned and stalked away. Arya's breath came fast. I shouldn't have done that, she said. Father will be proud, Syrio said. Perhaps not of your choice, but of your courage. Fear cuts deeper than swords, little one. Do not let it in. Daenerys watched the empty doorway. He'll look for ways to hurt us where he can, she said. He'll choose shadows, not the practice yard. Then you must learn to see in the dark, Syrio replied. Both of you. Daenerys tightened her grip on the wooden sword. The water dance was nothing like the dragon dance in her dreams, but there was grace in it, and speed, and the promise of not always meeting force with force. In a city where brute strength sat the throne, that might be the sharpest weapon she could carry. It was Littlefinger who suggested that the Hand's daughter, and by extension, his ward, ought to see the other face of the city. A queen who knows only silk and song is easily surprised, he said one afternoon over sweet wine, when Sansa and Daenerys were summoned to take some air in the small rose garden. And a hand who rules only from a high window soon forgets what his choices look like on the ground. Perhaps a little tour, HM? Under guard, of course. Eddard had hesitated, suspicion plain. You'd show them Flea Bottom as a jest? He asked. Let them gape at starving men like curiosities? Hardly a jest, Littlefinger said, hand to his heart. An education. Your pretty birds hear only courtly songs. But there are other songs in this city. Low ones. It might do them good to know the words. And what would you gain? Daenerys asked before Ned could answer. Littlefinger smiled at her, eyes crinkling at the corners, though the expression never reached their depths. Why, my lady, nothing at all, he said, except the satisfaction of seeing two more northerners understand why this city eats kings alive. In the end, Ned agreed with conditions. A closed litter, Stark guards, not Baelish's men. Anonymity. Sansa was giddy at first. The idea of a secret outing, cloaked and veiled, sounded like something from a romance. Daenerys was less certain. Still, when the day came, she climbed into the litter beside Sansa and pulled her hood low. The journey was short in distance, long in feel. At first, they rattled through familiar streets. Past marketplaces she'd glimpsed from the keep's higher terraces, past the steps of the September of Baelor. The smells were sharper here, the noise louder. Vendors shouted over one another, hawking eels and sausages, bolts of cloth, cheap trinkets. Then they turned down narrower ways. The cobbles gave way to packed dirt, rutted and slick. The buildings leaned inward, crowding out the sky. Wash hung in limp lines overhead. The air grew rank, a heavy stew of human waste, rotting food, unwashed bodies. Is this safe? Sansa whispered, peering through the gap in the curtain. There are guards outside, Daenerys said. "We're fine." She wasn't sure she believed it. The litter jolted as it hit a pothole. Someone shouted. A child's laughter cut through the din, high and wild. A dog barked. Daenerys lifted the curtain a little and looked out. Flea Bottom. She'd heard the name in council meetings, spoken with thin contempt. To see it was something else. Narrow alleys choked with refuse. Cramped rooms that housed too many bodies. Children with bare, dirty feet, their faces pinched. Women with tired eyes, some with babes on their hips, some with too much paint on their cheeks. Men clustered in doorways, eyes dull or wary or sharp with hunger. A thin boy of perhaps 8 darted close to the litter as it passed, hand reaching for a strap, then falling away when one of the Stark guards growled. His gaze caught Daenerys's for a heartbeat through the gap. His eyes were brown. His hair could have been any color under the grime. He looked at her with no recognition, no awe, only a kind of tired curiosity. "Gods," Sansa whispered. "I had no idea." "You've never been hungry," Daenerys said quietly. "Not truly," Sansa bristled. "And you have. Not like this," Daenerys admitted. "But I've known what it is to be unwanted, to be a problem men would rather not see." Outside, a man argued with a sellsword over a debt. A woman dumped a bucket into the street. The stench made Sansa gag. Somewhere a baby wailed. "This is the king's city," Daenerys said. 6 million dragons in debt, and this is what it buys." Sansa tugged the curtain closed, pale. "They should do something," she said. "Father, the king, someone." "They won't," Daenerys said. "Not unless they're forced to, or unless they see something in it for themselves." "You sound like Littlefinger," Sansa said, horrified. "Littlefinger sounds like the city," Daenerys replied. "He's just learned its language well." The litter jolted again. Then gradually the smells shifted. The streets widened. Light returned. They emerged from Flea Bottom into a cleaner, if not kinder, part of the city. When they returned to the Red Keep, Sansa was quiet. At dinner that night, when someone made a jest about the rabble, she flinched. Daenerys said nothing, but as she watched the king tear into a haunch of meat, grease on his beard, and the queen lift a goblet of wine that had never seen Flea Bottom's mud, she thought of the boy's eyes. Brown, empty, waiting. Kings sat on thrones of steel. Real power, she was beginning to suspect, lay in the hands of those who knew how easily such thrones could be pulled down by hunger. The Red Keep changed at night. By day, it hummed with activity. Servants scurrying, courtiers strutting, steel clashing in practice yards, voices rising and falling in a dozen tongues. By night, the noise receded into pockets. The great halls quieted. The corridors emptied. Shadows thickened in corners. Daenerys found she liked it better then. The castle felt less like a stage and more like a living thing at rest. She stood on a narrow balcony one evening, the stone cool under her hands, looking out over the dark sprawl of the city. Stars pricked the sky, faint against the haze of smoke. Below, King's Landing was a scatter of fireflies. Cook fires, lanterns, a flicker at a window. Beyond, Blackwater Bay glimmered, the moonlight silvering its uneasy surface. "You're far from the safety of your bed, my lady," came Varys' soft voice behind her. She didn't start this time. "So are you," she said. "Spiders don't usually spin their webs in the open. Sometimes one must stretch," he said, coming to stand beside her. His hands rested lightly on the railing, his gaze distant. "And sometimes one must make sure that certain conversations are not overheard." She glanced back into the room behind them. It was empty. The door was closed. The nearest guards were down the corridor, bored and half drowsy. "What is it you want to say that cannot be said in the Hall of Skulls?" she asked. "Some things are better discussed under open sky," he said, "where the only ears belong to gods and gulls." Below, a dog barked. Somewhere in Flea Bottom, a woman screamed, then cut herself off. "The council is speaking of you," Varys said. She stilled. "Of me as I am, or as they think I am?" As you are, he said. Or might be. News has reached us from across the narrow sea. Of your mirror. In this world's tale, she said. The Daenerys who never came north. Just so, he said. Married to a call. Pregnant. Robert is agitated. He speaks often of dragons born in Dashkaleen tents, of armies of horse lords sweeping across the narrow sea. He drinks and remembers the smell of burning men. He speaks of sending a man to do murder in a foreign land. Of a girl, Daenerys said, and her unborn child. Yes, Varys said. The wind lifted a strand of her hair. She tucked it back absently. And what do you think? She asked. Should I envy her? Pity her? Fear her? I think, Varys said, that you here are already enough to unnerve him, whether he knows it or not. Dragons have a way of haunting men. He doesn't know, she said. Not truly. How long do you imagine that will last? Varys asked gently. Secrets in this city are like fruit in Flea Bottom. They spoil quickly, and the smell of them draws flies. She leaned on the railing, eyes on the dark water. What would you have me do? She asked. Reveal myself? March into the throne room and say, here I am, the ghost you keep dreaming of. Kill me or don't, but stop cowering at my shadow. That would certainly clarify matters, Varys said dryly. For a very brief period. She laughed once. I thought not. He was quiet for a moment, then said, men like Robert think in straight lines. Dragon appears. Dragon must be slain. They do not account for subtler possibilities. Such as? She asked. Such as a dragon who grows up among wolves, he said. Who learns that fire is not the only way to change the world. Who sees Flea Bottom as well as throne rooms. Wolves tear, she said. Dragons burn. Neither sounds terribly subtle. Wolves also guard, Varys said softly. They keep their packs fed. They howl when danger comes. She thought of Jon, of Robb, of the younger boys, of Catelyn's wary eyes, of Ned's tired mouth. And what do you guard? She asked him. Truly, the realm, he said. He always said that. Tonight, it sounded almost like a prayer. If I thought killing you would save it, he added, I would do my best to see it done. As it is, I suspect your death would only feed the fires that already smolder. She turned to face him fully. You play a dangerous game, she said. We all do in this city, he replied. Some of us simply admit it. Then teach me, she said. The words surprised her, but once spoken they felt right. If I'm a piece on this board whether I will it or not, I'd rather know the rules. He studied her for a long moment, candlelight from the room behind them painting half his face gold, leaving the other in shadow. Very well, he said at last. Lesson 1. Do not mistake kindness for loyalty, or shared secrets for friendship. Men will tell you anything if they think it serves them. And you? She asked. What does this serve you? Stability, he said. Options. The possibility that when the current game collapses, as it will, the pieces that remain will not all be Lannister lions and Baratheon stags. And dragons? She pressed. He allowed himself a small, enigmatic smile. We shall see what sort of dragon you are, Daenerys of the North. She looked back out over the city. Somewhere in its depths, a little girl with her face and name walked a different path. Somewhere beyond the sea, a call might be laughing, a horse might be stamping, and a prophecy might be tightening like a noose. Here, on this balcony under the sky, she had choices that girl would never see. Then we begin, she said. Court was theater. Daenerys had suspected as much from the stories. Seeing it confirmed the impression. The throne room was designed to dwarf men. Its high, narrow windows funneled light down in pale shafts that turned dust to visible motes. The walls soared upward, hung with banners. And at the far end, atop its steps, the Iron Throne reared like some twisted beast. A jagged snarl of black iron blades, fused and bent, their edges dulled by time but no less menacing. Robert did not sit it well. He slumped rather than reigned, shifting often, as if the steel bit his flesh. His crown sat crooked. His beard was untidy. He drank between petitions. When he laughed, it echoed harshly. Cersei sat just below him, on a lesser seat, her posture perfect, her expression politely disinterested. Joffrey stood at her side, eyes glittering. Eddard Stark stood below the throne, to one side, the hands pin a fresh weight on his chest. His face gave little away, but Daenerys, who had watched him navigate hard winters and harder choices, could read the tightness at the corners of his mouth. The small council clustered nearby. Pycelle, Renly, Varys, Littlefinger. The knights of the King's Guard gleamed white along the steps. Daenerys stood with the northern retinue along the wall, behind Sansa and Arya. The Stark girls were permitted to attend court as part of their education. Daenerys came with them as a shadow. Petitioners filed before the throne. Merchants complaining of tariffs, minor lords seeking favor, a man whose daughter had been taken by a knight's men. Each story unfolded with its own weight. Each was filtered through the king's patience or lack thereof. "Take it to the master of coin," Robert said 3 times. "Ask Pycelle," twice. Once he roared, "Gods, man, do you think I have time for this?" and waved the supplicant away. When a man knelt and spoke of his brother murdered by Rhaegar Clegane, the hall shifted. Ned's shoulders stiffened. Cersei's gaze sharpened. Robert looked uncomfortable. "We'll look into it," he said too quickly. "Look into it?" The man cried, voice breaking. "My lord, he burned our fields." Enough," Robert snapped. "The hand will see to it." The man turned stricken eyes to Ned. Ned inclined his head, promise in the gesture. Beside Daenerys, Arya whispered, "Who's Rhaegar Clegane?" "The mountain," Daenerys said. "A man too large for one skin." "He sounds like a monster," Arya muttered. "He serves a greater one," Daenerys replied, watching the way Cersei's jaw clenched, the way Joffrey's lips curled at the peasant's presumption. When a hedge knight stepped forward to offer his sword to the king, Robert perked up. When that knight cast a lingering glance toward Sansa and Daenerys, Joffrey's gaze sharpened. "You see how they look at you?" he murmured, loud enough for those near to hear. "They'd climb over each other for the honor of your hand." Sansa flushed. Daenerys kept her face still. "And you?" she asked him quietly. "What would you climb over?" He sneered. "I don't need to climb," he said. "I was born above." The morning's petitions ended with a dispute over fishing rights between 2 minor lords. Robert declared them both fools and stalked from the throne, crown askew, leaving Ned to untangle their grievances. As the hall emptied, Daenerys lingered near one of the pillars, watching the Iron Throne revealed bare for a moment. It was an ugly thing. That was the first truth she had ever heard spoken about it. Not a seat carved by craftsmen, but a heap of blades forced together until they became something else. No comfort in it, no beauty, only assertion, a symbol Luwin would have said, of conquest, of strength, of the price of crowns. She imagined briefly sitting there. The thought repulsed her as much as it drew her. To put herself in that nest of steel would be to accept everything it represented. Her father's madness, her brother's death, men burned in the name of justice. And yet, ugly, isn't it? A voice said at her shoulder. She turned to find Renly Baratheon watching her. He was handsome in a softer way than his brother. His smile came more easily. "It is," she said, "but I suppose that's the point." "Robert always said Ares made it that way on purpose," Renly said, "so no one could sit it without bleeding." "Did he?" she asked. "Or did those who came after him decide that was the lesson?" He tilted his head. "You have a sharp tongue for a northern ward," he said, not unkindly. "Be careful where you use it." "Why?" she asked. "Might I cut myself on it?" He smiled. "Or someone else might decide to do the cutting for you." His gaze flicked to the throne. "There are many here who would gladly bleed a little for a chance at that chair, and some who'd bleed others instead. Which are you?" she asked. He laughed, shaking his head. I'm just a younger brother. I have the luxury of jokes." His expression sobered slightly. "But if my eldest nephew comes to sit there one day—" He trailed off, the unspoken thought hanging between them. Joffrey Baratheon on the Iron Throne. The idea made Daenerys' skin crawl more than the thought of herself there. "Then perhaps the realm will need all the jokes it can get," she said. Renly looked at her more closely then, as if reassessing. "We should talk again, lady. Dina Snow," she said automatically. Then, after a heartbeat, "Daenerys, in private." He blinked. "A bold confidence. A measured one," she said, "for which you'll keep the cost to yourself, if you're as clever as you seem." He studied her for a heartbeat more, then nodded once. "Very well, Daenerys," he said softly. "The game grows more interesting every day." He moved away, called by some courtier. She watched him go, then looked back at the Iron Throne. Ugly, she thought again. But uglier still were the men and women who clawed toward it without understanding what it did to them. If she was ever to touch it, if she wanted to remake anything of what it had come to represent, she would have to learn not only how to sit, but how to stand again. The Godswood in King's Landing was a poor cousin to Winterfell's. It sat enclosed by high stone walls, more garden than wild place. The grass was neatly kept. A narrow stream was channeled in decorative loops, rather than allowed to snake as it pleased. The weirwood itself was smaller than the one in the north, its trunk pale but not ancient wide, its face carved in the same old style but lacking the deep grooves of centuries of sap tears. Still, it was the closest thing to home Daenerys had found in this city of red stone and smoke. She went there late when the castle slept. The guards at the gate had grown used to her. A girl who sought trees instead of wine was no threat in their minds. She crossed the manicured grass and knelt before the heart tree, feeling faintly ridiculous and foolishly comforted all at once. "You look different here," she told it softly. As if someone tried to paint a memory from description and missed the feel of it. The carved eyes stared past her. The leaves rustled in a breeze that did not quite reach her skin. She closed her eyes. In her head, the weirwood grew taller, its branches thickening, its roots burrowing past the stone. The walls fell away. Snow covered the ground. The air sharpened. Footsteps crunched behind her. Not real, not yet. In the half-dream, she knew they belonged to Jon or Robb or Ned. She did not turn. "You're far from home," a different voice said. She opened her eyes. The Godswood remained the southern version, small, contained. The footsteps were real now. Eddard Stark stood a few paces away, cloak drawn tight, breath misting. "So are you," she replied. "Farther, perhaps. You've left more behind." He approached, stopped at the base of the tree. For a moment they knelt side by side, both facing the carved face. "I did not think you prayed," he said. "I don't know that I do," she admitted. "Not in the way Septa Mordain means it, or the way the Red Priests in the south do with fire and chants. But sometimes I speak, and it is easier to speak to things that cannot answer. The old gods listen," he said. "If they choose to, they speak in ways we seldom understand." "What do they say now?" she asked. "Here, in this place." He was quiet a long moment. "They say the roots of the world run deeper than walls," he said finally. "And that the men above forget that at their peril." She smiled faintly. "That sounds like you more than them." "Perhaps I have begun to sound like them," he said. "I have spent too many hours under their branches." She studied him in the moonlight. "You're not sleeping," she said. "Neither are you," he replied. "King's Landing is noisy," she said, "even when it's quiet." He made a sound that could have been agreement. The faint rush of the man-made stream filled the pause. "You heard the council," he said at last, "about the girl across the sea." She nodded. "You know what the king means to do." "I know what he wants to do," Ned said. "Whether I allow it is another matter." "You would defy him?" she asked. "For a child you've never seen, with my name, married to a man who might ride against this realm one day?" He exhaled. I have seen enough dead children for one lifetime, he said, including ones with hair like yours. She thought of the hall beneath the keep, of skulls larger than any child. Killing her will not undo what's been done, she said. It will only echo it. He nodded. That is what I mean to tell him. And if he refuses to listen, then I will have to choose what I can live with, he said. She looked at the tree, at its carved frown. You've been choosing that for 14 years, she said. Every day you kept me in your hall. Yes, he said quietly. And I will not pretend it has been easy, knowing that the lie I told could fall apart at any moment, knowing that keeping you safe might endanger others. But I made that choice. I will not compound it now by letting another innocent bleed for my silence. She felt something loosen in her chest. Then you are still the man I thought you were, she said. He huffed a dry laugh. You thought I was a man who knew what he was doing, he said. That was your mistake. I thought you were a man who tried, she corrected. That is rarer. The leaves rustled again. For a heartbeat, in the shifting shadows, she imagined a great, sinuous shape curling around the tree. A dragon, its scales white as bone, eyes like pools of red sap, coiled protectively, not hungrily. She blinked, and it was gone. Do you ever regret not sending me away? She asked. Truly. He was silent for a long time. When I see you smile with my children, he said slowly. No. When I hear you in the yard, shouting at Theon or laughing with Arya, or helping Bran down from a wall. No. When I watch Cersei looking too long at your hair, I regret only that you are not plainer. His mouth quirked. When I think of Lyanna, of the promise I made at her bedside, I wonder what she would have said. Whether she would have cursed me for bringing another man's child home, or thanked me for saving one more life from Robert's wrath. Perhaps both, Daenerys said. Perhaps. He rose slowly, joints stiff. We will not be in this city forever, he added. One way or another, our time here ends. When it does, he trailed off. When it does, she finished, I would like to have some say in where I go next, in who I am. He nodded once. We will speak of it, he said, when this business with the girl across the sea is settled. When I know if I can still call the king friend. He left then, cloak whispering over the grass. Daenerys remained kneeling before the small, constrained heart tree. The city murmured beyond the walls. The bay sighed. The wind shifted, carrying a faint scent of salt and something else. Char, like the ghost of an old fire. Old gods, she said softly, feeling ridiculous and oddly solemn. If you listen, watch him. He is a good man in a bad place. The leaves rustled, or perhaps it was only the sea. Dawn came to King's Landing like a bruise fading. From the highest parapet of the Red Keep, the city looked softer in that first light. The hard edges blurred. The filth was hidden under a wash of gold. Smoke rose in gentle columns from cook fires. The sea beyond shone pewter gray, streaked with pink. Daenerys stood with her hands on the cold stone, cloak tight around her shoulders. The air tasted of salt and ash and possibility. She had not meant to climb so high. In Winterfell, she had known every tower, every parapet, every place where the wind whistled differently. Here she was still learning. Her feet had carried her up narrow stairs, along walkways, past guards who barely glanced at the northern girl with the serious eyes. Up here, the castle's noise was distant. The city's chaos was reduced to antlines and faint sounds. From this height, power seemed simple. Whoever stood on these heights commanded all below. It was a lie, of course. Power was never that simple. She had seen enough in council chambers and alleys now to know that. But the illusion had its own pull. She imagined, for a moment, dragons wheeling over those rooftops, shadows passing over the September of Baelor's dome, over Flea Bottom's crooked eaves, over the red tiles of the Street of Silk. Men looking up in fear and awe. Her heart beat faster. In another life, perhaps, she would have wanted that. In the story's Viserys. Her Viserys, the brother she might have had, not the one who had died by a gold cloak's blade, would have told her, dragons returned meant thrones reclaimed, enemies burned, banners bent. Here, now, she thought of Varys's warning in the Hall of Skulls, of Flea Bottom's hollow-eyed children, of Robert on his throne, heavy and tired, haunted still by the things he had killed. Fire would not fix that. "I won't be a skull on a wall," she said to the city. "And I won't be a pawn on someone else's board." Below, the Red Keep was waking. Servants hurried in courtyards. Guards rotated. Somewhere, in a chamber that still felt half like a prison, Arya was likely bickering with her septa. Sansa would be combing her hair, thinking of princes and songs. Ned would be dressing slowly, pinning on the hand's brooch with a grimace. Cersei would be arranging her face in the mirror. Robert would be groaning over a hangover. And in some cramped room, Varys would be writing letters, sending whispers down spider threads to Essos and beyond. Across the sea, another Daenerys. One who had never known snow, never climbed Winterfell's walls, never knelt before a heart tree. Might be stirring under silk sheets in a Khale's tent. Might be dreaming of dragons, too. Daenerys of the North. Dina Snow, Daenerys Targaryen, wolf and dragon both, stood on the Red Keep's highest stone and felt the wind tug at her hair. She thought of names, of masks, of coin, of the way Tyrion had said she must choose when to spend hers. Not yet, she decided. For now, she would be the girl who listened at walls, who walked in skull halls, who learned from spiders and swordsmen and stubborn, honorable men. She would watch. She would remember. She would think of the boy in Flea Bottom and the man in the crypts and the children in wolf skins. When the time came, when the realm trembled on the edge of something worse than debt and hunger, she would decide whether to be dragon, wolf, or something new. Something that could burn without madness, guard without blindness. The sun cleared the horizon. Light spilled over the city, turning red tile and dirty alley and marble dome alike to gold. Daenerys turned from the view and descended into the Red Keep's veins, carrying dawn with her. The river markets below the Red Keep were a different world from Flea Bottom. Here, the filth was layered with color. Stalls crowded the cobbles, their awnings faded but bright against the general grime. Strips of cloth dyed blue and red, strings of dried fish that glistened silver in the light, baskets of wilted greens brought in from outlying farms. Men shouted prices, women haggled, children wove between legs and barrels. Sansa wrinkled her nose delicately as she picked her way past a fishmonger's stall. "It smells," she said under her breath. "It smells like people eating," Daenerys replied. "That's better than some places." Arya didn't bother to complain. She darted ahead, eyes bright, drinking in everything. The way a tanner's apprentice scraped hides, the quick hands of a woman twisting dough into rings before dropping them into hot fat, the flash of a knife as a street performer flipped it, handle to blade and back again. They were flanked by Stark men, 2 on either side, 1 behind, but the guards hung back enough to give an illusion of freedom. Eddard Stark had allowed this little excursion with great reluctance, muttering about vipers and crowds. But he had also remembered that girls cooped in castles turned brittle. So he had chosen a safer quarter, sent his own men, and told Daenerys quietly, "Watch them, bring them back." She took that charge seriously. "Look," Arya cried, pointing. In a patch of cleared cobble between stalls, a boy about her age swung a wooden sword at an invisible foe. His hair was a shaggy brown, his clothes plain and patched, but he moved with a wiry energy that drew the eye. Each stroke was followed by a quick adjustment of his feet, an instinctive attempt at balance. "Strike, retreat," he muttered to himself. "Strike, retreat." Arya drifted closer like a moth to flame. "You hold your elbow too high," she said. The boy started, nearly dropping the sword. "I don't," he protested. His eyes flicked over her clothes, her guards. He flushed. "Milady." "You do," Arya insisted. She snatched the sword from his hand before he could protest further and demonstrated, feet planted. "If you swing like this, you open your side. Syrio says." "Syrio?" he echoed, baffled. "Our dancing master," Daenerys supplied, stepping up beside her. She offered the boy a small smile. She means her sword teacher. You have a sword teacher? His envy was almost a physical thing. Proper one. A bravosi, Arya said proudly. He fights with a needle, not a club. It's not a club, the boy muttered, then realized he'd spoken aloud and went red. I mean, this is all we've got, when we're not working. You're Mycah, aren't you? One of the guards said, frowning. Butcher's boy. Yes, sir, Mycah said quickly. His gaze darted to Daenerys, then away. My father lets me practice when there's no deliveries. Says I'll cut my own foot off. But you won't, Daenerys said. She handed the sword back, hilt first. Not if you keep your elbow where Arya tells you. He took it, fingers brushing hers for a heartbeat, as if even that contact were a daring thing. Thank you, milady, he mumbled. Don't call me that, Arya said automatically. Call me Arya. The guard cleared his throat. Lady Arya, he corrected. Arya, she repeated stubbornly. Mycah half smiled, a quick flash of teeth. Yes, Arya, he said. Daenerys watched the exchange with a strange tightness in her chest. There was a time, she thought, when she might have been the girl in patched clothes watching princesses pass. Another turn of the wheel, another choice by Varys, and she might have stood where Mycah did now, looking up at fine cloaks and guard spears. Come, one of the Stark men urged. We should be getting back. The streets'll only get thicker toward dusk. New friends already? A drawling voice interrupted. Joffrey Baratheon sat his horse a little way down the street, flanked by 2 Lannister guards and Sandor Clegane. He wore no helm, so his golden hair caught the sun. A light mail shirt glinted beneath a rich surcoat, more finery than protection. His hand rested possessively on the pommel of his sword. Your Grace, Sansa said, the color rising to her cheeks. She dipped in a curtsy, nearly tangling her skirts. Joffrey, Arya said flatly, playing with peasants? He said, ignoring her and looking at Daenerys instead. Lord Stark truly is too lenient. You Northerners forget your place so easily. Daenerys inclined her head. We're learning the city, Your Grace, she said. Lord Stark thought it wise. Then he's more of a fool than I thought, Joffrey said. His gaze flicked to Mycah, who had gone very still, sword at his side. And what's this? Teaching small folk brats to swing at their betters. He's just practicing, Arya said. He wants to be a knight, Joffrey laughed, high and sharp. A butcher's boy? A knight? He looked to Sandor. Hear that, hound? You have competition. Sandor Clegane's burned face twisted. More likely to cut his own ears off, Your Grace, he said. Go home, boy, one of the Stark guards said quietly. Now, Mycah hesitated, torn between obedience and some stubborn pride. His knuckles whitened on the wooden hilt. Daenerys stepped a little forward. He meant no insult, she said. We imposed on his time, not the other way around. Joffrey's eyes narrowed. You always have a tongue-ready northern girl, he said. Perhaps you think you can order my justice here in my father's city. I think justice isn't beating children in the street, she said, before she could stop herself. Silence fell in a small radius around them. The market's general hum continued, but closer by, people edged back, sensing the crackle of tension. Joffrey smiled then, slow and unpleasant. Show me how you hold that sword, boy, he said. Or are you too craven to prove you deserve it? Mycah swallowed. Your Grace, I do as he says, Sandor growled. Reluctantly, Mycah raised the wooden blade. His stance, Daenerys noted, was already better for Arya's interference. Strike me, Joffrey said. The butcher's boy stared at him, horrified. I can't, Your Grace. You can, Joffrey said, or I'll have your hand for refusing a royal command. Daenerys took a breath. The guards shifted uncertainly. Arya's fingers twitched toward her own practice sword. Mycah, shaking, swung. The wooden blade glanced harmlessly off Joffrey's mail. Joffrey's smile vanished. He drew his own sword with a hiss of steel. "Now I'll show you how a knight strikes," he said. "Stop," Daenerys said sharply, stepping fully between them. "He's a child. You've proved your point." Joffrey's gaze flicked to her. "Move," he said. "No," she said. For a moment, the world tightened around the three of them. The prince, the butcher's boy, the dragon wolf girl. Even the gulls seemed to hold their cries. Then Arya moved. She swung her wooden sword with all the force of her outrage, smacking it across Joffrey's wrist. He yelped, more in surprise than pain. His sword clattered to the cobbles. Sandor's hand went to his own hilt. "Girl," a streak of gray and white shot between them. Nymeria, who had shadowed Arya everywhere, latched her jaws around Joffrey's forearm through the mail, teeth finding the gaps. He screamed, high and ragged. The market exploded into chaos. Joffrey's scream cut through the market like a blade. Nymeria snarled, jaws locked, eyes wild. Blood welled where her teeth found flesh. It oozed between links of mail and down the prince's arm. He flailed with his free hand, striking at her muzzle, kicking blindly. "Nymeria, no!" Arya cried. She lunged, grabbing at the wolf's scruff. "Leave off! Leave off!" Sandor Clegane was already moving, his greatsword rasping free. "Back!" He barked at the Stark guards, at Daenerys, at anyone in reach. "Back, or you'll lose more than a bit of princeling meat." The Stark men stepped in out of instinct, steel flashing. For a heartbeat, the narrow street became a tangle of blades and bodies. "Lords, all of you, stand down!" Daenerys yelled, voice cutting through in a way she had not known it could. "Sandor, if you swing that at her, you'll cut the prince as well." He checked, calculating. It was true. Nymeria's body was plastered along Joffrey's side, her weight dragging him half down. Any strike would risk shearing bone from prince as well as wolf. "Call her off, then," Sandor snarled. "Arya," Daenerys said, dropping to one knee beside the girl. The cobbles were slick where a stall's water had spilled, the smell of fish sharp. "Get your arm under her jaw. Leverage, not force." Arya's small hands were shaking, but she obeyed. She slid one forearm under Nymeria's throat, the other hand gripping her collar. Daenerys clapped her own palms around the wolf's muzzle, fingers pressing into the bristled skin. Nymeria's eyes darted to her. For a heartbeat, girl and beast and dragon-blooded ward locked gaze. "Enough," Daenerys said, low, commanding. "He's not worth your teeth." Nymeria's growl vibrated through her palms. Then, inch by inch, the wolf's jaws parted. Joffrey wrenched his arm free with a sobbing gasp. He stumbled back into Sandor's bulk, clutching the wounded limb to his chest. Blood smeared his mail, bright and shocking. "Kill it," he gasped. "Kill the beast. Kill them all." Sandor stepped forward, sword still raised. "Stop," Daenerys snapped. "Nymeria, go." She shoved the wolf toward the gap in the crowd. Nymeria hesitated only a fraction, then whirled and bolted, vanishing into the warren of alleys with a flash of gray and white. "Arya," one of the Stark guards hissed. "What have you?" "Found a spine, that's what," the hound growled. He grabbed Joffrey by the uninjured shoulder. "We need a maester, your grace, and witnesses who saw this little pack of wolves set their pet on you." "Lies," Arya spat, still panting. "He drew steel first. He made Mycah." Silence. One of the Lannister guards snarled, backhanding her across the face. Daenerys caught her before she fell, fury like a hot, clean line through her chest. "You strike a lord's daughter in the street?" she said. "Before witnesses? You'd best hope Lord Stark doesn't hear of this." "Lord Stark will hear of the assault on the prince," Sandor said. From the queen's own lips, Mycah had vanished. In the chaos, the butcher's boy had done the wisest thing he could. He'd run, wooden sword abandoned on the cobbles. Daenerys hoped he was halfway back to his father's shop by now. "Take him," Sandor ordered the guards, jerking his head at Joffrey. "We're done here." His gaze lingered on Arya and Daenerys. "For now." As they hustled the prince away, The market slowly breathed again. Stalls righted themselves. People picked up fallen wares. No one met Daenerys' eyes for long. Being seen on the wrong side of a Lannister temper could ruin more than a day's trade. "We have to go," one of the Stark men said, shaken. "Now, before the Queen hears some twisted version of this." "She'll hear Joffrey's version," Daenerys said. "Twisted is already guaranteed." Arya pressed a hand to her throbbing cheek. "I'm not sorry," she said. He was going to hurt Mycah. He was laughing." "I know," Daenerys said. Her own heart was still racing. A thin cut stung along her wrist where Joffrey's flailing blade had grazed her. She hadn't felt it in the moment. Blood trickled, tickling her palm. Sansa had been silent throughout, shock blanching her face. Now she took a shuddering breath. "This is bad," she whispered. "Mother always said we must never anger the Queen, or the Prince." "We didn't anger them," Arya said hotly. "They angered themselves." Daenerys wrapped an arm around each of them, drawing them close as the Stark guards formed a protective bubble. "We'll tell it true," she said, "as it happened. Let Robert hear it from more than one mouth." She thought of Robert's brute laughter, of the way he'd once made a game of swinging his hammer at men in practice just to see them flinch, of the way his jaw had tightened when the council spoke of killing a girl across the sea and wolves at his feet. "Sometimes," she murmured, mostly to herself, "truth is the only weapon left." The words felt brave on her tongue. Later, she would taste how bitter they could be. They were summoned before the throne before the blood on the cobbles had dried. The throne room felt colder, though the day was warm. Light slashed the space from the high windows, turning dust to glitter. The Iron Throne loomed, inhuman and indifferent. Robert slouched upon it, a fresh cup in his hand. His face was flushed, whether from wine or fury Daenerys couldn't tell. Joffrey stood below him, arm bandaged and cradled in a sling, his expression carefully arranged in a mask of injured innocence. Cersei did not bother with masks. Her fury was a blade honed to a fine edge. She stood near her son, one hand on his good shoulder, lion's head clasp gleaming at her throat. Eddard Stark stood before them with his daughters and ward at his back. Daenerys could feel the tension in him, a tight hum through the air. Behind her, Sansa trembled. Arya bristled. Daenerys held herself very still. Sandor Clegane and 2 Lannister guards flanked Joffrey. Stark men stood further back, hands on hilts, outnumbered. "What is the meaning of this?" Robert demanded, though the tilt of his mouth suggested he'd already heard a version he preferred. "You heard it from your son," Cersei said sharply. "Now hear it from the wolves who set their beast on him." "We did not," Arya began. Eddard's hand found her shoulder, squeezed once. "Let me speak," he murmured. He stepped forward. "Your Grace, there was an altercation in the river market," he said. "Prince Joffrey drew steel on a butcher's boy. My daughters intervened. The dire wolf defended them." "Your daughters attacked him," Cersei snapped. "They set a monster on him like common cutthroats. Look at his arm." Joffrey obligingly lifted the bandaged limb, wincing. "She let it bite me," he said, voice wavering. We were only talking. That butcher's boy swung at me. They laughed. That thing attacked." "That's not true," Arya burst out. "You told him to strike you. You threatened to cut his hand off if he didn't. You pulled your sword first. Nymeria was protecting us." "Silence," Cersei hissed. "Let the girl speak," Robert said, surprising Daenerys. He scrubbed a hand over his face. "7 hells, it's like being back at Storm's End with all the squires yapping." "Arya, is it? Tell me what happened." Arya told him, stumbling over some parts, overly vivid in others. She did not spare herself. She admitted to hitting Joffrey's wrist with the wooden sword, but she did not lie about his threats. Robert listened, brow furrowed. Then he looked to Sansa. "And you?" he said. "You were there. What did you see?" Sansa went pale. Her eyes darted to Joffrey, to her father, to Cersei's cold gaze. She began. I was looking at the stalls. I didn't see how it started. It all happened so fast.
Liar, Arya spat.
Sansa flinched. Tears welled. I didn't want anyone to be hurt, she whispered. Truly, I didn't. Joffrey is my prince, but Arya is my sister. Her voice crumpled. Robert looked to Daenerys. And you, girl, he said. You've a tongue on you, I've seen. What truth do you swear to? She met his gaze. Her cut wrist throbbed under the bandage Maester Pycelle had wrapped with grudging hands. Prince Joffrey did as Arya says, she said. He drew steel first. He demanded a child strike him. The direwolf attacked to defend us. Cersei's nostrils flared. She would say that, she said. This little snow bastard you brought into your hall, Stark. She's no blood of yours. Who knows what she carries? Robert's eyes flicked to Daenerys's hair, half hidden under her hood. For a heartbeat, something curious passed there. A flicker of recognition buried under years. Then it was gone, drowned in aggravation. I don't care who drew first, he growled. There's a prince with a torn arm and a mad beast loose in my city. It has to be answered. It was not madness, Daenerys said quietly. It was loyalty. Enough, Robert snapped. I will not listen to lectures from girls. Where is the beast now? Gone, Eddard said. We drove her off. She'll be halfway back to the north by now. Then bring her back, Cersei said. Have her killed, or I will have men hunt her and hang whoever sheltered her head from a tree. You will not hunt my daughter's wolf, Ned said, ice in his tone. Your daughter's wolf tore the heir to the throne, Cersei said. There must be a reckoning. There is another wolf, Sandor said lazily. The red-haired ones, the tame one. Lady, his gaze slid to Sansa. We passed her in the yard, calm as you please. No, Sansa choked. She didn't do anything. She wasn't there. Then she pays for her sister, Cersei said. Blood for blood. That is cruel even by your standards, Daenerys said before she could leash her tongue. Cersei's head snapped toward her. And who are you to call me cruel? She demanded. Someone who's seen children burned in songs for a war they never started, Daenerys replied. You would kill a loyal animal because your son could not bear being defied. Dina, Eddard warned, low. Robert thumped his cup down. 7 hells, will you all stop squabbling? He roared. I'll have no more of this. The wolf dies. That's the end of it. Ned stared at him. You would kill an innocent creature to soothe your wife's temper? He asked. Enough, Stark, Robert said. I won't be henpecked in my own hall. The wolf dies. The girl and your ward are to be beaten for lying. If they lie again. Arya opened her mouth. Daenerys squeezed her shoulder hard. Now was not the time. I'll not have my children beaten by your order, Ned said. Then teach them to keep their beasts in line, Robert snapped. He rubbed his temples. God's my head. Just see to it. If the wolf must die, let it be by your hand, if that makes it easier for you. Daenerys saw the moment something broke in Ned's face. A hairline crack, invisible to most, but she had watched him stand before the heart tree in Winterfell. She knew the difference between eeriness and fracture. As you command, your grace, he said. The words tasted like poison. Sansa sobbed. Arya looked like she might lunge again, this time at the king. Daenerys stepped forward, meeting Cersei's eyes. This is not justice, she said. It's fear, and fear eats thrones faster than any wolf. Cersei smiled, thin and sharp. What would you know of thrones, little Snow? She asked. You've never sat one, only scurried at the feet of men who do. Daenerys held her gaze a heartbeat longer, then bowed stiffly, with no grace in it. Come, Ned said hoarsely. Girls, Dina. As they turned to go, Joffrey's voice followed them, a hiss between his teeth. I'll remember this, he said. All of it. I hope you do, Daenerys thought, but did not say. One day it might show you what you are. The yard they chose was small and enclosed, halfway between a stable and a forgotten corner of the Red Keep's lower bailey. The The sky above was a thin strip of darkening blue. Torches along the walls spat and hissed. Lady sat in the center, a pale presence against the red stone. She was the calmest creature there. Her golden eyes followed Eddard Stark as he approached. Her tail thumped once against the packed earth. Sansa clung to Daenerys' arm, sobs shaking her slight frame. Arya stood a little apart, face pinched, cheeks still stained with dirt from the market. Ghost, who had followed them from the shadows, paced restlessly along the wall, teeth bared in silent protest. "It isn't fair," Sansa whispered. "She didn't do anything. She's good. She never bites. Never. Father, please." Ned's face looked carved from stone. He knelt, stroking Lady's head. The wolf leaned into his hand, trusting. "I'm sorry," he murmured to her. "This is not your fault." "Then don't do it," Sansa cried. "Tell the king no." "He is the king," Ned said, voice raw, "and he has commanded it. If it must be done, better a familiar hand than a stranger's cruelty." "It's all Joffrey," Arya said bitterly. "He lied. He's a coward. Enough," Ned said sharply. "Words have weight, Arya, even true ones." Daenerys watched, throat tight. She had seen death before, on the King's Road in Winterfell's Godswood when Ned executed deserters. She had seen justice carried out with solemnity. This felt different. This felt like the killing of something gentle for the sake of pride. "Let me do it," she said suddenly. Ned looked up, startled. "No," he said. "You will not bear this." "She is my sister's wolf," Daenerys said. "But she's also mine. She slept in my chamber when Sansa had nightmares on the road. She followed me to the Godswood. If she must die for what I said in that hall, the blood belongs on my hands as much as yours." Sansa stared at her, eyes wide and streaming. "No," she said. "No, I couldn't. I would never forgive." "Then I won't," Daenerys said with a small, sad smile. "You can hate your father if you must. Better you live with that than with the memory of me standing over her." Ghost whined, low. Lady licked Ned's hand. He bowed his head. "You are a kind girl," he said to Daenerys. "Kinder than this place deserves. But mercy does not always mean staying the blade. Sometimes it means taking the burden yourself. This is mine." He rose, drawing his sword. Sounded louder than it should have. Steel, the same as any other day, but tonight it seemed to ring with all the weight of their choices. Bringing Daenerys north, bringing her south, standing before a king who spoke of killing children across the sea and wolves at his feet. Sansa turned her face into Daenerys' shoulder. Daenerys wrapped both arms around her, holding her tightly, feeling the girl's nails dig into her back. Arya did not look away. Neither did Daenerys. Lady did not flinch. She tilted her head slightly, as if listening for some far-off sound. Ned whispered something too low to catch. Then his sword fell. The sound it made, steel through flesh, the dull thud of a body hitting earth, etched itself into Daenerys' bones. Sansa's scream tore the air. Ghost threw back his head and howled. The sound was eerie in the southern air, a northern morning given voice. Arya's lips parted, but no sound came. Her knuckles were white where she gripped the edge of the wall. Blood soaked into the red dirt, a darker stain. The torches flickered. Someone murmured a prayer. Daenerys' heart pounded against her ribs. In her mind, the yard flickered, becoming for a heartbeat the throne room of King's Landing, then the courtyard of some Essosi manse, then a field on the Trident. Blood in all those places looked the same. This, she thought, is what their games cost. Wolves, children, girls who only wanted songs. Later, when Sansa's sobs had dwindled to shudders and Arya had retreated into a rigid silence, Ned cleaned his sword with slow, precise movements. Daenerys caught his eye as he wiped the last streak of red from the blade. "She trusted you," she said quietly. "Yes," he said. His voice was a scraped-out thing. "That is why I could not let a stranger do it." Daenerys looked down at the still form of the direwolf. Pale fur now matted near the neck, eyes closed. "I won't forget this," she said. He thought she meant resentment. She did not correct him. Grief in King's Landing had no place to settle. It had to keep moving like water on sloped stone. The next day, Eddard Stark took his ward with him down into the city. He did not say why at first, only that she should dress plainly and keep her hood up. Ser Jorah Castle and 2 guards accompanied them. They slipped out a side gate, down through streets that stank of old fish and smoldering refuse, toward the Street of Steel. The smithies there were a world of their own. The air throbbed with the ring of hammers, the hiss of quenched metal. Heat rolled from open doorways. Smoke curled from low chimneys. Men in leather aprons and soot-streaked faces moved with practiced rhythm. Ned paused before one of the busier forges. The sign above the door was a simple anvil. No sigil, no fancy carving. The clang of metal on metal came steady from within. "Here," he said. Inside, the light from the mouth of the forge was a molten orange. Tools hung on the walls. Tongs, hammers, files. The smell of hot iron and sweat was thick. A man with arms like tree trunks looked up from the anvil as they entered. His hair was thinning, his apron was stained. "We're not taking new orders," he said gruffly. "The hand's tourney has every." Then he recognized Ned and went pale. "Lord Hand," he stammered, bowing awkwardly. "At ease," Ned said. "It's your work I've come to see, and your apprentices." The man hesitated. "The boy?" he asked. "He's out back, working the bellows." "Fetch him," Ned said. Daenerys wandered a few steps, drawn to the racks of half-finished helms and breastplates. One, a simple, solid piece of steel, had a clean line to it, a balance between strength and weight. She ran a finger along its rim. "Careful, girl," the smith muttered. "Edges may not be honed, but they'll still bite." "I know better than to caress steel carelessly," she said. Footsteps sounded from the back room. A boy emerged carrying a bucket of water, which he set down with a slosh. He was about her age or John's, with dark hair that curled when damp, blue eyes, and the kind of straightforward posture that came from a body used to hard labor. Sweat had glued his shirt to his chest. Soot smudged his cheek. "Master Mott?" he asked. Then he saw Ned and stilled. "This is him?" Ned asked the smith quietly. The man said. "Gendry. He's strong for his age, quick with his hands, good eye for weight. Why?" Ned studied the boy. Daenerys watched him watching, noting the small tightness in the hand's jaw, the way his gaze flicked from Gendry's face to the curve of his skull, the set of his shoulders. "You made this?" Ned asked, picking up the helm Daenerys had touched. "Yes, lord," Gendry said. His voice was wary but not cowed. "Well, most of it." Master Mott finished the brow. "It's good work," Ned said. "Solid, not showy." "We don't do showy here," Mott said. "We leave that to them silks up the street. We make steel that keeps men alive." "Most of the time," Gendry added under his breath. Ned's mouth twitched. "This boy," he said, turning to the smith. "Did he come to you with a name?" Mott shifted uncomfortably. "I was paid to take him," he said. "Years back now. Gold cloaks brought him. Said his mother left him at a tavern on the Street of Steel. She had yellow hair, they said. Pretty. No coin. Wanted the boy to have a craft. Who paid?" Ned pressed. Mott hesitated again, then jerked his chin toward the door, as if afraid of being overheard even in his own forge. "A man from the castle," he said, "with a sigil on his cloak. A stag." Ned glanced at Daenerys. In that look, she read confirmation of something half-guessed. Bastards. In Winterfell, they had been Snow. Here, they had other names. "Your name is Gendry?" Ned asked the boy. "Yes, lord," Gendry said. "Just Gendry. Just Gendry," Ned repeated softly. Daenerys studied the boy. There was something in the line of his jaw, in the set of his brow, that echoed the king's face as it might once have been. Younger, less run to fat, more certain. "He does good work," she said to Mott. "You should be proud." The master smith grunted. "I am," he said. When he's not asking questions, he's no business asking. I only asked about the man who paid, Gendry muttered. Once, when I was little, he had a helm like a bull. Ned froze. Like a bull? He repeated. Gendry nodded. Big things. Curved. He came with the gold cloaks. Ned's fingers tightened on the helm. Will not keep you from your work, he said abruptly. Thank you, Master Mott. Gendry. He set the helm down with care. The king should be proud of such steel. Gendry frowned slightly at the wording, but said nothing. As they left, Daenerys glanced back once. The boy had already turned back to his anvil, hammer rising and falling. Bastards, she said softly, when they were back in the street. You're counting them, Ned exhaled. Jon Arryn died asking questions about why certain dark-haired boys in the city looked so much like Robert, he said, and why the Queen's children did not. If it killed him, I need to know why. And if the answer is what you suspect? She asked. He looked at her, the noise of the street of steel a muffled roar behind them. Then this realm rests on a lie, he said. And we are all standing on a cracked foundation. Daenerys thought of Gendry's steady hands, of Joffrey's shrill voice, of the thin line between just Gendry and Prince. Some lies protect children, she said quietly. Some crown men who should never have sat a stool, much less a throne. He gave her a sharp look, seeing more in her words than she'd fully meant to show. Remember that, he said, when the time comes to choose which lies you'll keep. The Red Keep had as many small rooms as grand halls, spaces where whispers could collect like dust. One such room lay off a lesser corridor near the Queen's solar, convenient for men who wished to seem as if they happened by one another rather than having planned it. Renly Baratheon waited there one night with a Tyrell rose at his shoulder. Loras Tyrell sat beside him, pretty as a maiden in full bloom. His hair a cascade of brown curls, his armor. Not the tournament kind now, but a lighter, courtly version, polished to a soft sheen. His eyes were blue and sharp. Daenerys had not expected Loras. She stepped inside, hood thrown back, and paused. My lady, Renly said, rising. Thank you for accepting my impromptu invitation. You left a note with my handmaid, she said. She thought it was from a lover. She nearly fainted. Loras chuckled softly. Then she has a better imagination than most, he said. Please sit. She chose a chair that kept her back to a wall and her view of the door clear. The candle between them guttered slightly in a draft, then steadied. You asked for a private word after court, she said. I am listening. Renly looked at Loras, then back. Word travels quickly in this city, he said, even when it shouldn't. I've heard about what happened in the market, and about Lady. Half the city's heard, Daenerys said, bitterness flicking her tongue. Your nephew bleeds loudly. Joffrey is not made for restraint, Loras said delicately. He's not made for rule, Daenerys replied. We all see it. Some of us admit it. Renly's mouth tightened. Not all of us, he said. Yet. Silence hummed for a moment. Daenerys leaned back slightly, watching them. Why am I here? She asked. Surely you didn't risk a private meeting to exchange insults about your brother's heir. Renly folded his hands. You told me in the throne room that your name was Daenerys, he said. In private. I did, she said. A bold choice, Loras observed. Even whispered. I'm tired of biting my tongue off, she said. I thought I might keep some of it. Renly's gaze sharpened. You understand, I assume, what that name means to some, he said. Especially spoken by a girl with your look. Yes, she said. I also understand that men in this city are quick to fear dragons, slow to recognize rot in their own house. Careful, Loras murmured. Walls here have long memories. She studied him. You ride in the tourneys for Renly, she said. You wear his favor. You stand close to him at court. His brows rose. You are observant. I am northern, she said. We watch long winters. They teach patience. Renly cleared his throat. "We have mutual interests," he said. "Let us say that. You have seen what Joffrey is. You saw it in the market. I have seen worse at closer range. Cersei's claws will only dig deeper when Robert dies. When, not if," she noted. "He drinks like a man trying to drown something," Loras said, "and hunts as if he believes the boars owe him a clean death. He will not live forever. None of us do, but the manner of his leaving, and who sits after, that we may influence." "You speak of Stannis," she said. "He is the elder brother." Renly's lip curled. "Stannis is hard," he said, "as unbending as his jaw. The realm would obey him, perhaps, but it would not love him. And he would not care." "And you?" she asked. "I am younger," he said simply. "I am more pliant. I know how to listen, to bargain, to laugh. Men follow those they think they can like, not merely those they fear." "And what does this have to do with me?" she asked. "You are Stag. I am whatever I am. Wolf in public, dragon in private." Renly leaned forward. "You are also," he said quietly, "one of the few in this city who sees clearly that the game being played atop that iron monstrosity cannot continue. Not with the same players." "And you think I will what? Back your claim?" she asked. "Whisper your name in ears that matter. I am a ward, Lord Renly. Not a lady with lands. Not a queen." "Not yet," Loras murmured. She shot him a sharp look. "I have no desire for a throne made of stolen swords," she said. "I know who forged it. I know what it cost. My father's madness is not something I care to wear like a cloak." "But you do want change," Renly said. "You want a realm where butchers' boys aren't bait for royal cruelty. Where wolves aren't killed to soothe the queen's rage. Where a girl with your blood doesn't have to hide behind a northern name to live." She hesitated. "Yes," she said finally. "I do." "Then we are allies in that, at least," he said. "I won't ask more now. Only this, when the king dies, and he will, and the queen moves her pieces, remember that there are other options than lion and false stag." "True stag," Loras corrected very softly. Renly's jaw tightened. "The law is a tricky thing," he said. "Writers of it were only men. Men can be wrong. Or persuaded." Daenerys thought of Gendry's hammer on steel, of Joffrey's scream, of Robert's weary eyes in the crypts, of Varys's warnings on the balcony. "You're asking me to choose sides in a war that hasn't started yet," she said. "I'm asking you to think about what you'll do when it does," Renly said. "Because it will. Dragons or no dragons." She looked between them, Renly's earnest, restless hunger. Loras's cool appraisal, the calculation behind the courtesy. "I will think," she said, "and I will listen. And if I decide that any stag, black or gold, is better than a lion with a crown, you may hear my voice. But I won't trade one madness for another." Renly smiled, a little crooked. "Spoken like a woman raised in winter," he said. "Thank you, Daenerys." She rose. "If I were you," she said, pausing at the door, "I would think also about the bastards your brother left across the city. The realm may one day ask why a boy in a forge looks more like a king than the one on the throne." Renly's smile faded. Loras's fingers tightened onto the table. Daenerys left them with that thought burning between them. Letters had always seemed frail things to Daenerys. Ink on parchment. Easily burned, easily forged, easily lost. Yet they carried voices across distances winter would have swallowed whole. Words to bridge cold and time. She sat at the small desk in her chamber, quill poised above blank parchment, and thought of Jon. Ghost lay near the door, red eyes half closed, chest rising and falling. The dire wolf had taken to shadowing her as much as he did Arya now, as if the death of Lady had bound him more tightly to those who remained. Torchlight from the corridor seeped under the door. The single candle on her desk sputtered. Outside, the city hummed in its sleep. A distant shout, a cart's rattle, the faint clang of a bell. "Jon," she wrote, then paused. She had never written to him before. In Winterfell there had been no need. They had spoken in the yard, on the wall, in the Godswood. They had shared glances across tables, small jokes in the shadows of greater worries. Ink felt inadequate. She tried again. Jon, King's Landing is not made for us. She scratched that out. It sounded too much like complaint, not enough like truth. Jon, we are as far south as is still Westeros, and yet I have never felt so far from home. Better. She let the words settle. They killed Lady. By the king's order. For what happened with Joffrey in the market. Arya's wolf is gone. Ran when we sent her. I hope she is halfway to the neck by now. You would have been proud of Arya. She swung first. You would not be proud of what they made father do. Her chest tightened. She dipped the quill again. Robert is not the man they sing of. Or perhaps he was once and drank that man away. He speaks of my namesake across the sea as if she's a monster, and of the child in her belly as if it's nothing but a sword pointed at his throat. He would send an assassin to cut a babe from its mother if his fear screamed loud enough. I don't know if that girl deserves a crown. The songs say her father was mad, but I know she doesn't deserve a knife in the dark. No child does. She glanced at Ghost. The direwolf's ear twitched. I met a boy in a forge today. He looks more like a king than Joffrey does. I met a prince who might be a better king than either. I met a spider who says he serves the realm, and I almost believe him. I met the skulls of dragons, and I could feel them staring. You once asked me if I would fly if I could. I told you no. I'm not so sure now. She sat back, swallowing. The South is a tangle of lies and debts and prides. Father walks through it like a man in a swamp, trying to find firm ground. I don't know if there is any. I do know this, whatever happens here, the North will feel it. Winterfell will feel it. You will. She hesitated, then added in a smaller hand, sometimes I dream of the wall. I see white and blue and things that move in the dark. I hear a wolf's howl that is not ghosts. If you go there, be wary. The stories old Nan told were not all nonsense. She stopped. The quill hovered. She wanted to write, I miss you, your presence, your silences, the way you understood how it felt to stand half in shadow, half in the light of a name that wasn't fully yours. She wanted to say, I am afraid, for you, for father, for us. She wrote instead, we haunt together, you said. Remember that, even this far south, I hear your footsteps on the wall beside me when the wind is from the north. D. She sanded the letter, folded it, sealed it with plain wax. No crest, no dragon, no wolf, only the impression of her thumb. In the morning, she would give it to one of the Stark men she trusted, with careful instructions to place it in Maester Pycelle's rack for the ravens. She did not trust Pycelle, but ravens still flew north when commanded. Ghost lifted his head as she stood, the parchment in her hand. Keep watching, she murmured to him. The wolves left here are too few. He huffed softly as if in agreement. Daenerys blew out the candle and lay in the dark, listening to the city and the distant rush of the sea. Somewhere beyond that, another girl with her name might be listening to another sea. Both of them perched on the edge of storms they had not made. She closed her eyes and saw the wall, white, tall, waiting. Daenerys did not intend to overhear the conversation that changed the game. The Godswood drew her when the castle felt too tight. She slipped there whenever she could, seeking a sliver of the north in the manicured grass and pale bark. That afternoon, the air was heavy with the promise of rain. The leaves of the small weirwood stirred restlessly. She entered through the postern gate, as usual, thinking herself alone. Then she heard Cersei's voice. You should have stayed in your snowbound keep. The queen was saying, you were never made for this. Daenerys froze, half hidden in the shadow of an elm at the garden's edge. Through the leaves, she saw them. Eddard Stark standing before the heart tree, hands clasped behind his back. Cersei Lannister a few paces away, all green silk and gold hair. No guards, no courtiers. The air between them was taut as a drawn bowstring. I was made to keep my vows, Ned said, even when others break theirs. Cersei laughed once, sharply. Is that what you call lying to your king for 14 years? She asked. A vow kept. I speak of your vows, he said. To your husband, to this realm. Her eyes narrowed. You presume much. I presume what I can see, he said. 3 blonde children in a black-haired house. A queen whose brother wears her husband's color more comfortably than the king does. A hand dead after asking questions about bastards. It doesn't take a maester to put the pieces together. Silence fell thick and charged. Even the distant sounds of the castle seemed to recede. You have a very dangerous mind, Lord Stark, Cersei said at last. I have eyes, he replied, and I have known Robert Baratheon since we were boys. I know what his seed looks like. Joffrey is not his, nor are Myrcella or Tommen. They are Jaime's. Yours. Every last one. He said it not with triumph, but with weary certainty. Daenerys's fingers dug into the rough bark of the elm. The accusation hung in the air like a struck note. Cersei's jaw tightened. For a heartbeat, she seemed about to deny it. Then she tilted her head, the corners of her mouth curling. When you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die, she said. There is no middle ground. So it's true, he said quietly. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. Daenerys strained to hear. What of it? Cersei asked. Robert crawled into my bed stinking of wine and grief, muttering another woman's name. He never loved me. He never loved our children. He loved Lyanna. He loved his hammer. He loved his crown. I would not bear sons for a man who raped my body and my pride. Rape is a strong word for a marriage bed, Ned said, but there was no conviction in it. It is the right one, she snapped. He took what he wanted and turned away. Jaime has always at least seen me. Our children are ours, not his. And if the realm knew? Ned asked. If the lords who bled for Robert knew that the boy they bled to crown is no true Baratheon, they would do what they always do, Cersei said. Choose the side that keeps their heads. I intend that side to be mine. You think you can hold this together? He asked. On a lie this large? Well enough to keep Joffrey safe from Robert's temper and yours, she said. Unless you mean to tell the king. Ned's hand flexed behind his back. He looked older than Daenerys had ever seen him. He deserves the truth, he said. The truth will kill him, Cersei said. It will kill my children. Robert will have their heads on spikes before you can say treason. Is that your justice, Stark? He closed his eyes briefly. My loyalty is to the realm, he said, to its people. And you think Robert's bastards are the answer? She sneered. Gendry and his like? Or Stannis with his humorless lectures? You think the small folk will sing for them? I think, he said, that a king should at least be who the law says he is. She studied him. You are a good man, she said. Too good for this place. Lyanna loved you for that, perhaps. Robert loved you for it too. He needed someone to act the part of conscience while he drowned his own. Do not speak of my sister, he said. You were not there. No, she said. I was stuck in Casterly Rock, groomed like a broodmare for a man who would never look at me the way he looked at a dead girl's statue. Her eyes flashed. We all have our ghosts, Stark. You carry yours as a hair shirt. I wear mine as armor. She stepped even closer, voice dropping to a whisper. You have a choice, she said. Bury what you know. Let Joffrey take the throne when Robert dies. Guide him, temper him if you can. Or go to Robert with your righteous truth and watch him tear this kingdom apart in his rage. Watch him murder children again. Daenerys' stomach twisted. The girl across the sea. The babes in the sack. Lady bleeding in the yard. And if I stay silent? Ned asked. If I become your accomplice? Then you live, she said. Your daughters marry well. Your bastards stay ghosts. Your dragon stays in northern gray. And I have time to make my son into someone the realm can stomach. Her gaze flicked, just for a heartbeat, toward the edge of the grove, toward where Daenerys stood hidden. Had she sensed another presence? Or was it only paranoia on Daenerys' part? Ned was silent a long moment. "I will tell him," he said at last. "But I will tell him gently. Write to Stannis, have him return. Let Robert disinherit your children quietly. Send them away across the sea with names that will keep them alive. Take what gold you can carry. Live." Cersei's mouth thinned. "You think I would let my children be cast out for your honor?" she asked. "You know nothing of mothers." "I know enough of fathers," he said. She regarded him for a long time, something like pity in her eyes. "You should have taken the offer," she said. "You had a chance, Stark, to be merciful, to be practical. You chose being good instead." She smiled without humor. "We'll see what that buys you." She turned and walked away, skirts whispering. The guards outside the Godswood gate straightened as she passed. Ned remained where he was, looking up at the faces carved in the pale bark. His shoulders sagged. Daenerys withdrew as quietly as she could, her heart pounding. The lie at the kingdom's heart was now spoken aloud between its queen and its hand. There would be no putting it back in the ground. When the boar took Robert Baratheon not long after, bleeding in a silken bed that stank of sour wine and unwashed flesh, Daenerys thought of this moment in the Godswood, of choices offered and refused, of how quickly good men ran out of room to stand. The boar's tusks had done what rebels, assassins, and years of drink had not. When Daenerys was summoned to Robert's chamber, she did not at first understand why. She and Sansa had been in the Sept, enduring Septa Mordane's thin-voiced recitation of the Seven's virtues. A breathless page had burst in, stammering about the king, the hunt, a maester's call. Now she stood near the wall of the royal bedchamber, a flagon of watered wine in her hands, feeling like an intruder in the last act of a play she had never wanted to see. Robert lay pale and vast in the bed, the sheets stained with blood and sweat. His skin had a waxy sheen. His beard was matted. The bandages around his middle were soaked through. The smell in the room, a mix of iron and rancid wine and the sharp tang of some poultice, turned her stomach. Eddard Stark sat beside him, the hands pinned bright on his chest. A parchment lay on the bedside table, weighted by a knife. His face was drawn, eyes shadowed. Varys hovered near the door, soft and still as a shadow. Grand Maester Pycelle fussed with jars and cloths, his mutters a low drone. Cersei was conspicuously absent. "You'll leave us," Robert rasped, waving weakly at Pycelle. "All of you, except Ned, and the girl can stay. I need the wine." "She is no tavern wench, your grace," Ned began. "She has hands," Robert snapped. "She can pour. I'll not have you up and down when you should be listening." Daenerys stepped forward, careful not to meet Ned's eye. She filled the king's cup, the flagon's neck chattering against the metal as her hands shook. Robert took it, sloshed a little onto the sheets, and drank deep. Wine dribbled from the corner of his mouth. He wiped it with the back of his hand. "Gods, but I was strong once," he muttered. "Wasn't I, Ned? On the Trident. I'd have broken 10 boars back then." "You were," Ned said quietly. "You broke a prince instead." Robert's laugh came out as a cough. He said. "Rhaegar, rubies on the river. Feels like another man's life now. Another man's sins." He looked at Daenerys suddenly, squinting. "You," he said, "Ned's girl, the one with the sharp tongue." "Pour mort." She did. His fingers brushed hers, hot and clammy. "You look like someone," he said, studying her face. "Someone I dreamed of once. Dragon spawn." His lips twisted. "But no, you're just a northern stray." Ned's always had a soft heart for pups. Daenerys said nothing. Her own heart hammered. "You sent men to kill a girl with my name," she said before she could stop herself. "Across the sea." Ned shot her a sharp look. Robert's eyes drifted to the ceiling. "I did," he said. "Or I meant to. Did they? Did they do it?" "No," Varys said from the shadows. "The attempt failed." "Pity," Robert murmured. "Or perhaps not. I don't know anymore. We killed enough Targaryens to last a lifetime." Ned, you killed children," Ned said. In their mother's arms. That was never what we rode for. Robert flinched. Don't start with me, he muttered. Not now. I know what I've done. I know what I've become. This is my punishment. He gestured weakly at the wound. The boar, he said. Big bastard. I was drunk. Too slow. Thought I could still. Wasn't careful. His gaze flicked to Varys. Wine, he said. Too much wine. Varys bowed his head, expression smooth. You've signed the paper, Robert said, nodding toward the parchment. Made it what, Ned? As you asked, Ned said. You name me protector of the realm, to rule until your son comes of age. Good, Robert sighed. You'll do what's right. You always do. Gods help you. He coughed, grimaced. Change it, he added. From son to heir, just in case the gods are crueler than I think. Ned's hand tightened on the parchment. I will, he said. You'll make her children safe, Robert said suddenly, startling Daenerys. Cersei's, even if... He trailed off. It wasn't their fault. Any of it. I loved them in my way. I will not let children bleed for their parents' sins, Ned said. Not yours. Not anyone's. Robert nodded, eyes drifting shut. Good man, he murmured. Silence stretched. His breath rasped, shallow. Daenerys stood very still, the flagon heavy in her hands. She thought of the rage he had spoken of in the crypts, of his blunt words about killing any Targaryen left, of the council talk of sending an assassin for the girl across the sea. She thought of the man who had just acknowledged that killing children had been a sin. Your Grace, she heard herself say. His eyes opened, cloudy. What? If you could take back the order for the girl, Daenerys, she said. If you could, would you? Ned stiffened. Varys's gaze sharpened. Robert stared at her, as if trying to see what lay under her hood. You've a soft heart too, he muttered. Ned's taught you that. Or the North has. He coughed, winced. If she's still alive, let her be, across the sea. Let her have her horse lords and her dragon's bones. I'm done with it, with all of it. Tell them, no more. The words were slurred, but they were a king's last decree as much as anything on parchment. Varys inclined his head. As you say, Your Grace, he murmured. Ned met Daenerys's eyes over the bed. He had heard it too, so had she. Whatever happened next, some part of Robert's war ended here, bleeding onto linen. Forgive me, Robert whispered, to no one and everyone. His hand groped for the cup. Daenerys moved it aside. He sank back into the pillows. After a while, his chest stopped rising. The king died. The realm did not notice immediately. Outside, the city screamed and laughed and bargained as always. Inside, a lie on which kingdoms had rested began to crack. The throne room felt different without Robert. The light was the same. The Iron Throne loomed as ever. The banners hung unchanged. Yet an absence hummed in the air, a space where a booming laugh and heavy tread and careless authority had been. In that space, something colder flowed. Cersei Lannister sat in a chair just below the throne, her posture regal, her gown a rich crimson today. Her hair shone like coin in the light. Joffrey stood on the step below the throne, one hand resting possessively on its arm, as if testing the weight. Jaime Lannister lounged nearby in white, hand on sword hilt. The other Kingsguard formed a gleaming line. Varys and Littlefinger stood to one side, eyes hooded. Grand Maester Pycelle clutched a sheaf of parchments, his beard quivering with importance. Eddard Stark walked the length of the hall with the measured tread of a man going to his own execution, the scroll in his hand. The king's last will, naming a protector, seemed very small. Daenerys moved in his wake with the Stark men, hood back, hair braided tight. She had argued to be left behind. Ned had refused. If this goes ill, he'd said, you'll need to see who stands where. So she watched. Lord Stark, Cersei said, smiling with her mouth, not her eyes. We are gathered to hear the king's last words. It is gracious of you to bring them. Ned bowed. The king's words were clear, he said. He named me protector of the realm, to rule until his rightful heir comes of age. Joffrey's chin lifted. I am the rightful heir, he said. I am of age now. I will take the throne. Not yet, Ned said. Not until the realm has heard the truth. Cersei's smile thinned. Truth is a matter for the king, she said. And he is not here to correct you. Ned broke the seal, unrolled the parchment, and read aloud. At the word heir, Daenerys saw Cersei's shoulders loosen a fraction. Ned had changed son as Robert asked. It gave him a sliver of ground. It seems, Cersei said smoothly when he finished, that the king trusted you to protect my son, as his heir. I, too, have always respected your honor. Ned took a breath. Joffrey is not Robert's heir, he said, nor are Myrcella or Tommen. They are born of incest, of a union between you and your brother. I have proof. I will show it to the council, to Stannis Baratheon, to the lords of the realm. A murmur rippled through the gathered men. Jaime's hand tightened on his sword. Joffrey's face went from pale to red in an instant. How dare you, he began. Cersei rose, slow and controlled. You speak treason, she said. I speak truth, Ned replied. And if the realm is to survive this, it must face it. Cersei sighed, as if disappointed in a child. You had your chance in the Godswood, she said. You chose this. She reached for the parchment. Ned did not yield it. Lord Stark, she said softly, when you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die, Daenerys finished under her breath. Seize him, Cersei said. For a heartbeat, nothing moved. Then steel rasped as the gold cloaks, the city watch, poured into the hall. Ned's men drew their swords, forming a circle around him. For a moment, the hall was a forest of blades, the air full of harsh breaths and shouted orders. You gave me your word, Ned said, staring at the gold cloak commander, Janos Slynt. You swore to support the king's hand. I did, Slynt said, his expression carefully blank. You're not the king's hand now. Littlefinger's hand settled on Ned's shoulder, mock gentle. His dagger slid out, cold, and pressed to the hand's throat. I did warn you, Peter said softly. We are only humoring you, you know. Daenerys moved without thinking. She stepped forward, hand on the hilt of the small sword under her cloak. Stop, she said, voice ringing. If you draw his blood, the North will not rest, nor will the Riverlands, nor others. Cersei's gaze flicked to her. Others? She repeated. You mean your shadows, little Snow? The men who would bleed for a ward with no name. Daenerys met her eyes. I mean the men who have more claim to the throne than your son, she said. Baratheons with black hair and broad shoulders, hammering steel in forges. Brothers with clearer heads. Renly, standing near the council, stiffened. Loras's hand drifted toward his hilt. Joffrey flushed. She threatens me, he hissed. In my own hall. I warn you, Daenerys said. There is a difference. Kill her, Joffrey snapped. And her father. And her. Enough, Cersei said sharply. We need hostages, not corpses. For now. Her gaze raked Daenerys up and down. You're more trouble than you're worth, she murmured. I should have had you drowned at birth. Daenerys felt the words like a hand on her throat. Birth, Dragonstone, King's Landing, fire. Take Lord Stark, Cersei ordered louder. Confine him to his chambers. Gently if they let you. If they do not. Her eyes slid to Janos Slynt. Be creative. The gold cloak surged. Ned's men fought, but they were outnumbered and caught off guard. Blows landed. Blood spattered the tiles. Steel rang on steel. Daenerys drew her sword. For a moment, Ghost's howl from some distant yard echoed in her ears. She saw a gold cloak coming at her, blade raised, and moved to meet him. A hand like an iron band closed around her arm, jerking her back. Varys's voice hissed in her ear. Not now, he said. You cannot help him by dying here. She struggled. He did not loosen his grip. "Look," he said. "Look and remember. You will need this." She forced herself to watch as Ned Stark was dragged to his knees, as the hand's pin was torn from his chest, as the scroll fluttered to the floor, forgotten. She saw Joffrey's thin smile, Cersei's satisfied eyes, Littlefinger's bland expression. She saw the moment the lie became law. In the end, she let Varys pull her back, out of the hall and into a side passage. Ghost found them there, teeth bared, hackles up. "The Nor, which has lost its hand," Varys said softly. "The question is what it will raise in response." Daenerys thought of Winterfell, of Robb's earnest face, of Jon, perhaps already on the King's Road north to join the Watch, of a girl across the sea with her name, and of dragon bones under a castle's foundations. "I will not be a skull on a wall," she said, more to herself than to him. "And I will not be their pawn." Varys inclined his head. "Then we must make sure you live long enough to be something else," he said. Chapter 4 of her life in King's Landing ended not with fire, but with the clang of a closed door and the muffled sound of a good man shouting as they took his sword away.